Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you have been here before. Today we're going to be reviewing the Gourmande Girls Haunted Palette. So, pretty. Let me pop this sucker open. So super duper cute. So this puppy, real quick, does retail for $54.99. I think that is it. I'm super excited to bring you a hopefully really in-depth video. Let me know down below what you do think, but let's go ahead and roll on in to the video. Jumping in, one thing I did want to mention, I do wish that the brand would include like color descriptions on their website, especially for someone like me who is colorblind. Even if it's like, in my case, not severe, but I still feel like it's really helpful just to know like what the shades are supposed to be, I guess. So that is something I definitely do wish they had on their site. And then I also do feel like when we start comparing some of the different shades, I do want to just mention that when I do say that certain shades are like similar or whatever, I still feel like it is okay because they are in separate palettes versus like if they were all in the same palette, then yes, I probably would not want them together because they are too similar. But I do still feel like some of them, you know, they kind of stand out on their own. I will be going from left to right and then starting at the top, and then we'll kind of work our way to the bottom. So first shade we're going to be starting with is Ghostly, but this is just a little swatch next to it. I did do Hypnotic, and this is from the Nightshade palette, so I would definitely feel like the undertones are really similar. I do like Haunted a bit more. It's a bit more like blingy and pretty. I also have Swatch Dream shade from the Nightshade palette. I would not say, like, this is definitely a different kind of purple. It's a lot brighter, but I wanted to just swatch it just to show you the comparison. So next up we have the shade Curse right here. Similar to that, it would be Scream from the Spooks palette. I do feel like the undertones are just a teeny bit different, but in all honesty, especially looking on camera, they look pretty darn similar to me. In my notes, I do have written down that Spooked is a bit darker than Cursed, but at least on swatch, it does look similar. So next up, we have the shade Jinx from the Haunted palette. I really couldn't find anything too similar. I really like this one a lot, and it may not be like showing up with all the eye looks that I've done. It really almost is like a bluey to me, like a light kind of blue purple. It's so pretty. The only one that I could find even close, but you see this watch, it's so not, is Bloody from the Spooks palette. It definitely is nowhere near the same. Next up we have the shade So Haunted. It's a very nice mustard kind of yellow. The only shade that I thought might be similar is from Nightshade, and it is the shade Bittersweet. Bittersweet definitely, now that I look on here, looks a bit, this is where the color blindness comes in. This could be green, I don't really know. I don't see any green in this one. This one to me looks more mustard, the one from the Haunted palette. But this one is more pastel, definitely a softer yellow. Next shade we have is Eerie from the Haunted palette. Most similar I saw was Apple Bob from the Spooks palette. So in my notes, I actually said that this one was brighter, Eerie from Haunted. I do feel like Apple Bob is a bit brighter now that I do see it, but these as well are another similar shade. Next up we have the shade Scare from Haunted, and then we have the shade Deadly from the Nightshade palette. You can tell the difference. These are the two grays from the palette, so the Haunted is a lot darker than the Nightshade one. Next shade we have up is Bewitched. I did also swatch Nightshade from the Nightshade palette. You can tell two different colors here. One is a lot more, I would say, magenta. This is from the Nightshade palette, the Nightshade shade, and the Bewitched is a more true, really pretty purple. Spectral is its own standalone shade. It is a nice lavender from the Haunted palette. I did not see any similarities. Next up, we have the shade Obsessed. I really hope that you can tell on camera, because I can tell in real life. So, Obsessed is kind of this yellowy, greeny shade. It is super similar to me to Bittersweet from the Nightshade palette, but not quite the same. I almost feel like this one is a bit more opaque, and I do think, looking at it, there might be some green in there. Again, you know, I do apologize with my color blindness. It is hard for me to see. I did also, it's kind of oddly swatched from the Haunted palette also. It did swatch So Haunted. Hopefully you can tell that they are different shades. This one really leans into that super mustardy, where if this is yellow, I would say it's just more of a brighter kind of pastel yellow. Next up, we have Apparition from the Haunted palette. I see absolutely no similarities between the three different palettes. This one is so pretty. I do apologize, you can't see the shifts. This is definitely a duochrome, if not possibly a trichrome. It is so... This is giving very, like, mermaid, scales to me. It's a very, like, purple and kind of green. And then in the pan, I'm gonna die if it doesn't even show up on camera. Where is it? Right here. I feel like it looks teal, right? And I'm not... I guess a little bit. It's a really pretty shade. Definitely one of my favorite shades from this palette. Next up, we have the shade Unearthly, which is just super pretty, just super reflective, limey green. I super love it. So the shade that it is the most similar to is Flowering from the Nightshade palette. Sorry, I keep forgetting. I really don't feel like it's showing. It's kind of showing. Flowering is definitely more of that duochrome. I feel like there's like almost like a slight pink-green shift. They are definitely different. I feel like Flowering is almost looking a bit more like slimy kind of green, whereas Unearthly is just like a super bright in your face, I don't know, really good green. This one almost looks a bit more like goldy yellow. So in that respect, they are definitely different. I probably don't want them in the same palette, per se, because they're probably going to look, you know, pretty similar on the eyes. But it's so good. So the next two are from the palette. I just went ahead and swatched them with each other because I don't see any similarities between the other palette. Supernatural is this kind of, it looks almost burgundy brown to me. It is actually the shade that I'm wearing in my crease today, basically just this. I like how it looks, but that's not why we're here. I love how this is, it's giving brown and red, and it's a really nice shade. I'm super happy it's in this palette. Next up, we have Horrify, which is a super grungy green. This is like, oh my gosh, such a good green. I'm obsessed. And rounding out the palette, so you have the shade Troubled. All the palettes do have black, so this is Troubled from Haunted, sorry. We have Spooky at the top from Spooked, and we do have Black Knight from Nightshade. Some of these don't look as great, I do apologize. Some of my pans, because I've been really still watching them heavily, have a little bit of a hard pan, which is my own fault. I do appreciate that each of the palettes do have a black. I feel like a black is just such a go-to shade for a lot of us. Real quick, just to review, so this is what the Haunted palette looks like. And then we'll just work backwards. So next we have Nightshade, and then lastly we have Spooked. So starting out, I just have a little bit of the Milani eyeshadow primer all over my eyes. I'm gonna go ahead and dip in with this large fluffy brush into the shade Obsessed. I'm gonna start working that into the inner corner of the eye. Just bringing it almost to the colored part of my eyeball. Just really stamping it all over in the inner part of the eye. I'm also going to take a little bit just right under the brow bone, connecting the part in the front. I'm doing this to help with the blending later. Moving on, I'm just taking a slightly smaller domey brush, and with the shade Horrify, I'm going to start working that into the crease. I'm really just going very kind of high above my socket, not like quite high, but I want you to be able to see the like line. So all my eyes are open, staring straight ahead, and just following the shape of my eye. I like that I feel like you can really go grungy with this, or like I feel like how I'm doing almost kind of like a brighter look. I'm just gonna dip in a little bit of each shade, create a custom shade to help that to blend out better. So just to start the shape of like the outer edge, I'm gonna go ahead and take just an angled brush and just taking the black, which is the shade Troubled, I'm going to follow my bottom lash line, just winging it up. And I like to go in with the same shade, but this slightly smaller foamy brush just to fill it in. And then I'm going to fill in this outer white part of my eye. So I'm just going to go ahead and wipe off our brush real quick, dipping it back in with fourth eye. I'm just going to start to blend out that black shade. This color combo is it's everything. It's so nice. A little bit more of that green. Trying to tap out this inner black part. So if you want to just stop here, fill in with another green. You could even take this green shade right here to put that over the rest of the lid and just have a nice matte look. You could totally do that, and I'm really feeling that vibe right now. But because I do want to feature more of the products, we are going to go ahead and feature those products. So I'm just going to take a flat shader brush, and I'm going to start off with this mid-toned green shade, Eerie. I'm just going to pick up some of the products. Now, something I really have noticed with Gourmande Girls' formula of their shimmers is I really don't feel like I need to use anything to get them to adhere, just to make it a little easier. I am going to go ahead and spray mine. You can use like a glitter primer, whatever. I also have noticed that I don't really have any issue with creasing. Not that I necessarily feel like I have issue with creasing lately. I don't know if it's just allergies. Everybody raise a hand if you've also been dealing with some form of allergies. My eyes will water horribly, and then I'll notice like that it'll start to like break up in this inner part of the eyes. Yesterday I had watery eyes, literally no breakup at all. Now that could just be a lucky day because, to be honest, it kind of just happened with all eyeshadows. I feel like it just is, unfortunately, a thing that happens sometimes. I just wanted to mention that because it might be the formula. Maybe it's a really good formula that just held up. I feel like I'll have to test this out more to say for sure. I just realized I did not say. I went ahead and took the light green shade right here. Unearthly. Is there anytime I say Unearthly, I just think of Unearthly Cosmetics, which is kind of funny. And then you might see I'm just taking my brush a little bit and just tapping kind of along the edge. I really like to do this. Almost have my shimmers become a part of the matte shades. So I just applied a little bit of eyeliner into the waterline, just the mixture of pencil and milk, and neatened up my outer edge. I take this little angle brush and dipping into Horrify. I'm just gonna run that almost most of the way under the eye. Been loving to stop it lately, just shy of the inner part of the eye. I feel like it just helps the eye to look a bit more open. Taking another flat shader brush, I'm just gonna use this to smudge out that eyeshadow a little bit. Alright, let me go and pop on some mascara real quick. So now that the eyes are wrapped up, we are just moving on to the cheeks. I just thought it'd be fun to try one of the shades as a highlighter. My brain wants to be like, use the green, but I really feel like I want to use this shade right here. Oh my lord, I'm like so sucking today. The shade Jinxed. Let's go ahead. I'm just using this little brush from Real Techniques. Pick up some product. I hope not too much. Spray it with a little bit of some spray. And ooh, that's so pretty. I really do love how I feel like their shimmers, I don't even know how to explain it. It must be something that they're sheer enough that I can use it as a highlighter. So it's not, I don't know, like it's there, but I don't feel like it's looking too weird. I almost want to use a little bit of the pink in the inner corner of my eyes. Let's do that real quick. Let's just take this little brush we used. A little bit of Jinx. I'm just going to go in dry and see how it looks. Scratch that. Let's go a little wet. See if that'll lay down a bit better. Yes, much better wet. I know that earlier I said that the shimmers do go well on by themselves. Part of me is wondering, the last time I'd worn their shimmers, like, with nothing underneath, I did have technically an eyeshadow primer. Possibly that's why that bit of primer helped, versus it going straight on top of, like, another shade. This is giving, like, butterfly cuteness, whatever. Let me go ahead and zoom out real quick so we can finish talking about this. Okay, so it is coming back in for a quick wrap up. So I did just go ahead and throw this Wet n Wild liquid lipstick on my lips in the shade Rebel Rose. I really like it. I feel like it's like a really nice nude for me. I'm obsessed. I want to get another backup because mine is drying out, which is sad. But anyways, okay. So wrapping up our video for the Haunted Palette by Gourmande Girls x Doodles by the Bunny. Such a, honestly, very pretty palette. I really have come to expect nothing but the best formula from Gourmande Girls, and this palette definitely does not disappoint. All of the shades are very beautiful. Again, I still continue to really appreciate that all of their shimmers are good, no duds. I really do appreciate that because I do feel like a lot of brands tend to have a shade that's just like, it's good, but it's not as good. I guess if I was to try and find one negative, which not really, but would be this one shade here that is still super, like, metallic, but it's just not as blanky as a lot of the other ones, which is in the shade Spectral, but it is still a super pretty shade. I really do appreciate that. I just want to make sure that I'm trying to be, like, as fair as I, like, can be with everything of what I come to expect from palettes, or I'm trying to. So another as well, which again, hopefully the brand will make the decision one day. I do wish this palette was magnetic. It is not. I was a little hopeful when I did get these shades. You know, trust me, I don't feel like any of the shades are going to necessarily pop out. But when I did get this palette, I noticed that the pans were kind of, like, wiggly. So I was like, oh, maybe it's magnetic, which usually is that, like, sign for me that it's magnetic. When I did try to pop one out, unfortunately, I did kind of, like, rip it. But I was able to, like, stick it back in there, and it's fine. I did realize, I think they just used, like, glue dots or something. So everything does feel, like, super secure. Nothing gonna pop out. So no problems there. But that would be another, like, just slight, you know, if I could ask for the world from brands, I would really appreciate it more brands did do magnetic, because, of course, as we are choosing to use from that brand, knowing that there are so many other Halloween collections or just makeup collections in total, it is nice to be able to pull from our other palettes to make, like, dupable collections. So I would appreciate in the future if they did do that. I do feel like, of course, it would bump the price up a bit more, so not 100% sure with that. The price for this one is $54.99, so it, in my opinion, is a bit pricey, but for what you get, it is definitely worth it. This is a super pretty palette, and again, we are buying from an indie brand, so it does tend to be a bit more of a markup in that respect. Or again, I don't fully understand everything, but I definitely have no problem paying $54.99 for this palette. Again, like I said, it is super good, but I do think that that is everything that I wanted to include in this video. I really do hope that you'd enjoy this video. Definitely let me know down below what you do think. I really am trying to make my videos more, like, in-depth and more really just kind of going in and, like, actually reviewing, versus I feel like, at least for some of the videos I've seen of people reviewing palettes, they're, like, reviewing it kind of, and they're not going as in-depth as I want them to. So, you know, I really do hope, like, you know, with even showing comparisons between the three palettes, I do really hope that that did help you out. Let me know, you know, of course, if you think it did or if it didn't. Maybe some suggestions for future videos would also be, like, super cool. Or ways, you know, that you think would be more helpful if I was able to show you. Let me know all of that down below. You know, give this a like if you did like it. Also, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I'm planning to do lots more reviews and all that fun stuff through just forever. Anyways, okay, I will see you on my next video. Alright, bye!